Sairam and good morning, everybody. My name is Shankar, and I've been attending Sai Center for 9 years now. And today I'm very honored to introduce the guest speaker, our very own Amrish Uncle. All of us here at the center know and love Amrish Uncle, so it almost feels like he doesn't even need an introduction. But I'm going to go ahead and introduce him anyways. In 1980, Amrish Uncle came to Canada with his family, and his first knowledge and taste of Swami's teaching came through an informal bhajan mandali that he attended. From that time on, he's been an ardent devotee of Swami and has spread his teachings. Of all of Swami's teachings, the most important ones that Amrish Uncle has learned and practiced are punctuality and honoring commitments. Over the years, Amrish Uncle has been very active in the Satya Sai organization and has served as service coordinator at Ottawa Sai Center in Canada, as well as service coordinator here at Mesa Sai Center. He also teaches bhajans here at the center, and for most of us kids, he's taught us all the bhajans that we know. He's a great teacher and teaches us through example with love, dedication, and passion. Amrish Uncle has many talents, not just limited to teaching. He's a wonderful singer, harmonium player, and tabla player. He's taught me and many others the importance of Swami's value and applying those values in our everyday lives. The best part about Amrish Uncle is that he never lectures us. We see him apply Swami's teachings in his day-to-day life instead. He always greets everyone with a hug and a loving smile. Not only does he always show up to Andre House service, he's always early. And actually something that us kids really love about Amrish Uncle is that the fact that he brings ice cream and cookies to every bhajan practice every week. Just makes us happy every week. And I would not be the person I am today if it wasn't for Amrish Uncle. And I know we are all very excited and very lucky to be able to learn about his experience with Swami today. Thank you.
Respected uncles, aunties, dear brothers and sisters, and my most loving children, Om Sai Ram. After wonderful speech and talk by Sai Priya, I really don't know what to say. But I will definitely say what Swami brings through me. And I guess my topic is really like my journey, because I was not as fortunate as Sai Priya, who had Swami's influence right from birth, not through parents or something. So, which made me really thought that how many different ways Swami brings people to him. Either through parents, or through some miracles, or some strange way that he has. In my case, it had to be definitely not parents, because my parents were definitely God-loving, but not influenced with Swami's teaching or something. Swami was not as popular in North or Gujarat part of it where we are coming from. So it had to be some sort of miracle. And I had to wait for a long time to have that something, right? So that's actually where my journey began in 1980, as Shankar mentioned. And very coincidentally, Sai Priya also mentioned something big thing happening in 1980 in her life. So these are the ways Swami, communicates many different ways. In 1980, I was a single and came to Canada. And it was really I was always social, as you have known very well, that like friends and everything. So it was pretty hard for me to leave India and with no friends or only thing I had it was my brother's family. So very first thing was my goal in subtle mind was to make friends. And it was pretty hard to make friends in a new country where you don't know anybody. So the first opportunity that we had it is because of my parents also came with me. Somebody invited us for a bhajan. Now that was pretty awkward. I have never attended bhajan in those days. You talk about I was 24 years old, a young man. But because I was invited, brother's family was invited, so I had to kind of tag along, right? And bhajan, so I had no clue of what bhajans were, right? So And then the microphone comes to me. I said, okay, that makes sense now. Like, always loved singing, like, right from very early age. You could say, like, even when I was 4 years old, I would listen to like that radio, and I would never need wordings or anything for any Bollywood song. It just would come, like, tell me I'll sing that. And actually at the age of 5 or 6, I used to perform in like, on 15th August, like, parades and something like that. I would pick up whatever song, no issue there. Bhajan was definitely kind of challenge. It's okay, now I have a microphone. I definitely love singing, but what bhajan I choose? So then I had to look at my filmy choices of bhajans. And like, a few pops up like Amar Akbar Anthony, like Shirdi Wale. I said, no, I can't pull that one because it needs a lot of music. So then I, like, picked a pretty random bhajan, like, I said, okay, that has like, something Sai in it, so I'll add Sai, and I, like, bhajan went through it, right? So I was happy, like, I had opportunity to sing. I think that was probably the most joy part of it. But I think that was the very first step that Swami did, like, because throughout my talk, I think, I will keep saying that when you take one step towards him, he takes thousands. And he actually says that I'll take 1,000, but he proves that he takes millions, okay? And in this story, I mean, we can take step in many different ways. Like, sometimes we take step is just physically going to him, right? Coming to center or something like that. And then there are bigger steps that we can take, which are following his teachings. Those are also steps, not physical, but they're actually steps like, following his teaching and living through his messages. Now he says that our life should be his message. All right, so from that, like, the first thing happened is that one step brought me some friends. In that bhajan, there are other young, like, people there. So I said, okay, yeah, you like singing, like, come on down, I'll take you, like, drive you around and things like that. So when a friend, like, took me out for, like, downtown ride, something, they were playing some bhajans. I said, okay. That like Sai Center bhajan, so that definitely attracted me because discipline, like, short bhajans and musics were fantastic. Okay, so that was a wonderful, like, thing that I said, oh yeah, I kind of like this thing, right? So then he mentioned that these bhajans are happening every week at York University in Toronto, which happens to be a fantastic center. If you ever has a chance to go to Toronto, please visit York Center. Fantastic. Anyway, so I went to York Center, and I mean that is where I had a wonderful experience. This is where actually the experience, the first starts, right? I had no clue. I was in typically university in India. You go university, campuses are small, especially in 1980s I'm talking about, right? So you go there, you ask someone, you'll find things. Here I went to Toronto, like, York University, which was a massive one, so I got really puzzled. I did not know where bhajans are held, because there are many, many halls. Nothing like, that I had a clue on it. So I was just walking around. I had no car. I took a bus, by the way. So I was just walking around in university campus, hoping that I'll find somewhere. So I'm going room by room where Sai bhajans are, right? So finally, as I was walking through, a car stopped. This people were Indian looking. I didn't know back then that they were not Indian, but they were Indian looking. They were West Indian, like, Guyanese, Trinidad people. So they asked me, do you know where Sai bhajans are? I said, hey, I don't know, but that's exactly where I want to go to. He said, come on down, sit down in a car. So that kind of big relief. I just couldn't walk that much in the campus. So anyway, in car there were a couple of gentlemen, and then this is where I found out, like, the miracle part of it, right? So these people took me to Sai Center because they were local there. They figured out very quickly. Like, we went for a bhajan. That's the first time I really saw the discipline, punctuality. This is where, like, the first value what Shankar mentioned. I said, amazing thing, right? Things started on time, which unheard of in India. And, like, after one bhajan, next bhajan starts. Immediately, no talking between you, like nothing like that, right? So I was really impressed with those two things. But that was really not the end to it. Like, as bhajan were finished, somebody stood up, and this is exactly one person that I was in car with. Like, these are the people. So one person stood up, and he actually introduced himself as a doctor. He was a doctor of some sort of thing. Like, this is 1980, so I'm, like, my memories are not strong, but strong enough to narrate the experience. So doctor talks about some experience, saying that, oh, by the way, we had a patient and the story goes on that that patient was diagnosed with throat cancer, and doctor completely gave up. And these people were from Trinidad, so I said, okay, if we have nothing, no other possibility, vibhuti is the last thing. I mean, we got nothing to lose. So they were applying vibhuti on things on it, and the doctor was telling it that month after month after month, the diagnostic was improving. So first they said that the person would not live. Then they said, oh, they may live. I mean, the person may live, but have some this difficulty. And then at the end said, oh, won't be able to speak. That for sure, it's a throat cancer. So that's the day at the end of it, after doctor's speech, the other person who was sitting right beside me stood up. That person happened to be the patient that they were talking about, and he said, Om Sai Ram. And that was a profound experience that I had it, which nobody orchestrated. Often you really question the experience and the authenticity of it. This was nothing there. So I was so, impressed in the sense that, oh my God, this is something. Although I did not carry the value and the power of experience at the time, now I realize it. But what that made me is that I started attending bhajan very regularly there. Every Sunday, that happened to be our case there. So that was, I call it my first step towards Swami. And then Swami actually later on made all the ways, that he took those thousands and thousands of steps that I can keep going for that. So that was my introduction to Swami. Then in 1987, I moved to Ottawa, and that was pretty much like a switching gear for Swami. He had his own plan. So we moved to Ottawa. That's where actually we had a stronger influence of Swami, and that stronger influence is taking those other steps, following his teachings. Part of it, taking a few more steps. And the first two things were happening was getting to vegetarianism and leaving alcohol. We were always on a very borderline, we were not alcoholic or anything like that, but we were definitely not clean either. So those are the steps we took, and Swami must have been so impressed that he took furthermore steps towards us. And the way I would narrate it is when I think most of you know both of my kids, my daughter Shirley, elder, and Shardul, they both are mature now, working on their own, and they're not here. But when Shirley was conceived, neither Rita or I could say that we were clean in terms of vegetarianism or alcohol. So Shirley happened to born with that tendency as well. She liked, non-vegetarian every now and then. We were, like I said, we were always on a borderline, but she had that tendency. But this is a solid example. If SSC teacher can ever tell, that if you want to see this thing, this has happened in our family. When Shardul was conceived, both of us were clean. And Shardul had never tendency of eating meat. It was so profound. When he was young, we would give him, thinking that he may be malnourished or something like that, we would give him some baby food with meat on it. As a baby, he could not say no, because he was infant, right? But within 5-10 minutes, he will throw it out. So we tried a few times, and after we realized it, that this baby will not take meat. And he has always held to that. So think about it as we can have many study circle about the food and all kind of things. We had a solid experience of that ourselves, is that if you keep your food clean, not only you yourself, your kids would have the great impact of it. So those are our very strong influence of Swami's teaching in that thing. Yet we still did not visit Swami physically. And we had to wait for quite a long time. So in 1992, I had the first opportunity of going to Puttaparthi. And again, this will always, the story will keep coming back to if you take one step, I'll take thousands. The story is predominantly that and nothing else. So we made a booking. At the time, Shardul was very little, so Rita could not come. It's only me, Shirley. She was very young baby, probably 8, 9 or something like that, grade 2, 3 or something. Yeah. So we made a booking. Everything was pretty much settled, just to test our that one step. 2 days before our flight, Babri Masjid in India was demolished. And entire India was burning. This is like, curfew everywhere. You're not talking about some small cities or there. Entire India was burning. And curfew at night, there was going on. So now our friends were pushing us that, oh, you can't go. You're going with your daughter, this little daughter. And most places, the taxi driver, especially in Bangalore, going Bangalore to Puttaparthi, there's a predominantly Muslim driver. So you can't trust them, at least in this time frame where things are going really bad. So I thought about it, and then I had one very good friend, Ashok Bhai, very well. I asked, I said, what should we do? He said, you're going to Swami? You're worried about that? I said, okay, yeah, I got my answer. So I said, we will go. That one step, remember that one step? That Swami took millions in that. So anyway, we so we decided we'll go. We took a plane and everything. Plane was 2/3 empty, because everybody else canceled flight and it was very few of us. And Swami had to test us many different ways in that journey. So as soon as we landed there were curfews everywhere, right? So we still made to Ahmedabad, that was our home place. And then we had to figure out how to go to Bangalore. Because in that process, because Sherlyn was going first time, I actually booked Travel India ticket in those days, which means you can travel anywhere in India for 2 weeks. And then we had a plan, we'll take her to Agra, this, Taj Mahal, Shirdi, this, all the tickets were booked. But riots were going on, what can you do? And there was, by the way, the flight from Ahmedabad to Bangalore was not going either, because Indian Airways took a strike on it. So now I had to figure out how to reach from Ahmedabad to Puttaparthi. Anyway, so once we decided we will go, I asked the agent, I said, doesn't matter how you take me. He said, okay, well, what will we do? We'll take you Ahmedabad to Delhi, Delhi to Bangalore. That was okay. So I really don't care. So we went there. Swami made that happen, I can tell you. In those days, very, very few flights were going. So I had to make sure, that we utilize, it properly. We went there. I think it was a wonderful darshan. On the very first time that I arrived, the darshan has already started, so I could not go inside. But we were waiting outside. In those days, people were sitting right on the sand and every area there, right? So Swami actually came outside of normal area of darshan, and he came out and he was counting like everybody. I said, you are here? I said, yes, I'm here. With eyes he does that. So that was very, very good experience that we had it, and then he tested us, just like every time everybody has gone through, is that he would make you wait for Pad Namaskar. You have strong desires, he would not do it until last day. That's exactly what happened, last day finally, it's okay, I'm going now. He said, okay, fine, here it is, kind of thing. So, but in the meantime, you go through all the agony and pain of waiting. There's no difference here, the same thing happened there. What I want to say that one step is that in entire trip there, as I decided that I will take one step, that I want to go to Swami and see in Puttaparthi, that was the only thing could happen. Not any other travel happened in this one. I could not go to Agra, Shirdi, nothing. So that one step, Swami took millions to make that one happen, because that probably was not possible otherwise. So we came back, and I think that's where Swami's influence started getting, stronger and stronger. Our second visit was in 1997 when we had Paduka Puja. And those who know, I think Mr. Chettiar and Dr. Gadia arranged, it's a wonderful puja, my God, we had so much blessing from Swami. And we were fortunate that we had 2 sets of Paduka, one for Shardul, one for Sharlene, that we had blessed from Swami. So that was a very nice experience in 1992 when we had, 1997 we had a second one. The third one, which is probably the most impactful visit that we had, when I went in 1999. The story will again come back to you take one step towards me, it will take thousands, right? So in this case, what happened that our dear brother in Ottawa, and I think you might have heard him, or you definitely have seen him when we have a Shivaratri bhajans, and we show the video, Brother Kishan Singhal is so close to Swami. Swami actually has decorated him, his wife, kids, literally with all ornaments. You can think of anything like, Swami has decorated. They have like a whole big box gift from Swami. This was he renovated Sai Ramesh Christian Hall in Bangalore. Part of that closing, when things were finishing, he asked Swami, can we have some people from Ottawa? So Swami kind of looked at it, oh yeah, sure, and he said one thing, not only says yes, but he said they are my guest. Now, that is a big thing, and he will prove that. I'll talk to you. When he says, you are my guest, he will prove that indeed we are guests and you will be treated truly like guests. So, Kishan came back and said that to Ottawa Sai Center, saying that, Swami has mentioned this and you guys are invited. Not many took seriously. I happened to be the one that said, yes, I want to go. Before even asking my boss or anybody, I said, I want to go. That was my one step. Now Swami had to figure out how to clear rest, right? And I would not know until quite a bit time, later on what happened in the background. So trip, we decided trip would go. I went there, and this is probably the fantastic time that I ever had it with Swami's blessing, unbelievable. Countless, Pad Namaskar, everything, that he has given. That million step, he took that. So on day one, when we arrived, all the logistics were looked after truly like guests. So when we arrived, my room was right next to Ganesh temple. Oh my God, breeze would come so nice, and I would wake up with Lord Ganesh, people would ring the bell. I mean, you can't wake up any better than that, and this doesn't happen, honestly. At least I haven't seen it where you go to Puttaparthi or Bangalore, where canteen will open at your choice of time. We were guests, so we would go for shopping and something, so canteen people would wait for us and say, okay, here is food. Otherwise, at a time it closes. Nothing here. They actually ask us, what would you like? Because most of us from northern India, so they would make Punjabi style dish. Swami looked after all logistics perfectly fine. So on day one, when we are right on a darshan line, I had because only I could go. Rita was looking after Sherlyn Shardul and my mom. So I had our family picture. And we also had a stitch robe, Swami's robe that we wanted to get blessed. I tell you, I'm very clear in my expectations. I did not want that robe to be given to Swami. I wanted that to be back to us. I was very clear. I mean, I would not lie. So, yeah, because I wanted that gift for rest of my life. So I would not lie. I would say, oh, no, nothing like. Very clear. If you want something, just say that. Don't get anything. So that's exactly what he did. He blessed, the picture of family, and he blessed the robe he deposited. Said, okay, this is what you want, this is what you want. Right? Very, very nice. And Vibhuti given, all kind of things were happening in it's just unbelievable. So then happens, this was a part of a Ram Navami celebration. So on Ram Navami day, because we were guests, Swami will never let us go without having dinner. So, we were so happy to find out that Swami, invited us for dinner. So, oh my God, this is like a feast here, right? And he's I think you have already heard many times that he's very particular about details, right? So he would make sure that details are perfect as well. So what he had in his guest, he had two kind of guests, right? Local people who were Indian, who helped in terms of doing actual work for the renovation of Ramesh Christian Hall, and then he had some Westerner, Christians, our group were coming from Western side of it. So he makes sure details actually match to people. So local people, they were made to sit on the floor because that's what they will be comfortable. We had a banquet hall. To the point that actually Swami did not have food from his own canteen or anything like that. He catered the food from outside because these people are from North India. That the level of detail he get. But the thing that really shocked me as we entered the room, the music. Where did Swami get that banquet hall music in 90s? I just couldn't figure it out. This was exactly the Western music that you will hear, not like, the the Swarupam or something like that. He had music, right? This is what typically you would see in Indian banquet hall, but no, he had, my God, he makes sure that, okay, we are from Western Bloc. This is what happens in the banquet hall, in USA, Canada. So that's the music here. I tell you, he must have done amazing thing to find that music cassette. I'm still wondering, like that kind of detail he was there. And then people were serving like warm food, but nobody would eat, because Swami was not sitting and he would not eat it. So he was telling, eat it. And then people said, Swami, you eat, So finally he sat down, and honestly, those who have heard say, that Swami eats very little, indeed he eats very little. He took only 2 bites, and then he started walking around, asked that, take more. What do you want? That kind of things were going on. So it is amazing thing to have Swami's guest, I tell you, just things were wonderful, then comes another big day. So following day, 27th March 1999, this is where actually the interview. So all this time, Brother Kishan and his wife, Swami would call every day. And we were not expecting any interview or anything like that, because we had all the darshans and everything. What else can you want more than that? So anyway, this interview, Swami comes on that day after Ram Navami and tells Kishan that 5 family. So now becomes a big challenge, because he had almost 18, 20 family. How do you decide, who 5? And I left totally, I really don't know. But for whatever reason, I happened to be the last one to get it. And I think in a bigger scope, you really see it, that this is Swami's will. I can tell you, guarantee, it was not fluke. Because among those 18, there was other people who were very, very close to Kishan. Personally, in real life, he did not choose them. He chose me, happened to be, just because I was working more in the center work rather than personal friend. So even when somebody is in Swami influence, they also look for a right decision and making that. Now, I say that because I was in it, so maybe that I call it as a right decision, whatever it is, but I happen to be getting in there. And I think being an engineer, you go step by step now. I say, okay, now you know that you're going for interview, but there is, between the interview hall and that, you need to walk, and there are gates and whatever it is, things like that. So my prayer was that, don't send me back, because I have heard many other experiences where people are sent back, the spouses are sent back. It says, okay, let's take one step at a time. Let me in first, and then we'll talk the rest. Right? So anyway, so fortunately, nothing like that happened. We were in the room, and this is where Swami. It is a very small room, I tell you. I mean, those who have gone there, very small, very modest. I tell you, furniture would be United Way or those kind of things. Swami, it's very, very moderate things in there. It's very simple, very, very simple room. I hardly can sit, some people may have to actually stand in there to have there. And then Swami's magic starts, as he comes in, for whatever reason, he wanted to give vibhuti to all ladies and nothing to gents in the beginning, right? So, lady get vibhuti, another get another vibhuti. I think the biggest thing that I saw when, Swami was material like this thing, and then for one lady, when I saw, Swami, so we were seeing there, okay, what comes next, right? He waves something, and said, what comes next? Vibhuti, 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 and all of a sudden, there was a container, and I did not see from inside, but it looked like a vibhuti container, silver container vibhuti, and I'm pretty sure it's filled with vibhuti, because I have also seen Dr. Gadia, when Swami materialized something, it's not an empty container, it comes with vibhuti in it, warm, fresh. So the lady was so happy, you could see the emotion, she immediately tied down, to her, pallu, the sari thing, and she was really happy. But then came men's turn, right? So then it's a ring time. It started with white diamond ring, and then emerald club. God, like, it was really, really amazing to see. And when you are in the room, I tell you, I could not say anything, right? So then after all these things, Swami started talking with one another, like, how are you and things like that. And in the meantime, I think, the coordination was so good that rotationally people were like, touching Swami's feet and like, pressing them and massaging them. So I had like, very good, like, I can tell you 3, 4, 5 minutes of like, at Swami's feet and like, massaging that. And then my turn came. Swami asked me, "How are you, sir?" That's what he says. And then I broke down. I mean, I just could not help myself. So he tells very clearly, control your emotion. And then I said, in front of God, how can I control my emotions? That was, it was very hard for me, like, when God asks you, how are you? Right? It's just, and I told honestly, say, in front of you, how can I control my emotion? He said, good boy, good boy. But in the meantime, I had a courage, which I think people got shocked as well. So in that process, Swami was sitting there, and I actually put my head in his lap. He was, oh, no, like a whole bunch of other people said, you can't do that. I did it anyways. I mean, like, then Swami said, like, good boy, good boy. I said, okay, yes, nobody believes me, but now I know. I really don't care about believing. This was really, really amazing. Like, it's just like, good boy. And that then came the time, like, to, I guess, look after the family part of it, because I know Rita and children could not come because of right reason, and I happened to be lucky enough to come there. So I asked Swami, please bless my children. So Swami says, bless? I look after them. I say, okay, well, that's kind of very good. And a whole bunch of next examples will come in terms of looking after part of it. Okay. So I'll mention about that. But that's where I think, his interview went so well, and very tense, or I would call, like, serious atmosphere. Swami changes just like that. He will crack a joke, and all of a sudden, like, everybody's kind of smiling, and that's exactly what happened, right? As I was crying, like, things got, like, really kind of serious there, and then he cracked joke, and that made me, like, have some courage. And I asked Swami, can we have a picture? I don't know how in the hell I had that courage. I mean, I don't know how could I ask that, but I did. And they said, oh yes. So those who have come to my home, like, you have seen picture, that is actually for that. And if you have not, I have a picture here later on, I can show that. So that was, I think, the result of that interview and the entire thing, retrospectively, I really see it, that I actually did nothing for Brother Kishan, right, to be that growth. If you look at in a bigger spirituality manner, that if you flow with the right time at the right thing, you end up with the right place. That's all I could see that. I mean, otherwise, personally, I would not be in that group. But that was very good. Now, question comes, like, when Swami says that, yes, I look after kids. So those things come after that. So came back after with a lot of energy. As children were growing, they were ready for admissions and stuff like that. So Sherlyn, a brilliant kid, both of them are very brilliant. So we always thought that they would get wherever they want to get admission. And she did, except one, where she really wanted to go. So the biomed program in Canada in those days was very tough. Actually, in a brochure, they were saying that if you think that this is for fun, don't take this. Like, nobody would say that, but I actually read the brochure on this one. So for the time's sake, I will go very quickly. And she did not get admission in that one. And that was a shocker to us. He says, Sherlyn can't get admission. That's impossible. Like, we just could not believe it. So following day, we had Dean, who's visiting Ottawa. He said, okay, we'll go there. And this is where the punctuality pays off. Guys, if you're punctual, you may be rewarded. This is what happened. We were really on time, where the dean was having, like, the open session for University of Toronto, and we happened to be right time. So dean was alone. We never thought that faculty dean would be there. We never knew. We just were putting shot in a blind completely. We say, oh, by the way, this is what happened. So the Chinese lady, she said, oh, by the way, I'm the dean of it, and I have gone through the interview process. They said, can you tell me this thing? I said, this is what happened. She said, I don't know about all cases here, but I promise you, I go back and I'll figure it out whether the interview process has been correct or not. Because we could not believe. I mean, she had straight A's, she did all volunteering, everything that you can think of it, how could you not have admission, right? So next day she phones me back and says that, oh, no, there's nothing wrong in it. It's just this program is very tough and very, competitive, so people got in there. So I'm really sorry, there's nothing wrong happened here. So, okay, fine, we took another admission. We, signed up her for residencies and all kind of things on it. Week before school starting, she calls again. They say, oh, by the way, would Sherlyn like to go to this program? I said, what happened? We have already accepted admission other place. So I say, no, somebody dropped out. I mean, that usually you would ask. I said, no, this program, nobody drops out. What we have found out that we are able to increase, seat by 1. Now, who makes sure that the seat gets increased in the last weeks of this process? You gotta figure it out, right? So this is how it happens. Now this doesn't end. Sharvil's story is very similar as well. He's also very brilliant, but this time he gave us even more challenge. He said, I wanted to do pharmacy, which is in Canada you can't do it unless you are 2 or 4 years program, and then you have to go through exams and a whole bunch of other things. So we were looking for a direct program in US, and he got the admission, so which is good. I mean, things look okay, right? When you get admission, it's later on you found out how that happens, right? So he got admission, he started program. After first week, I phoned him and I asked him that, hey, how's things are going? Because he was in residency with second person, his roommate. I said, how's your roommate? He said, he's gone, Dad. I said, what happened? He didn't want to do this thing. I said, why? He said, no, this wasn't for him. And then he was telling me that all his classmates are valedictorians. They were far super intelligent. So he was worried that how did he get admission when he not supposed to? Everybody else was super brilliant and all those things. I said, you don't worry. You just keep studying and things will be fine. So back in my mind, I always wanted to ask Dean, what happened here? Because if every other student is so well ahead in academics, what happened here? So I always met Dean regularly, but I never had courage until when Sherlyn's turn came in. So she wanted to go into that college, and by then we were very kind of friendly thing. So we asked, I said, what happened here? He says, Mr. Patel, he always called me Dr. Patel. For whatever reason, he thought that Patels are doctor. And I did not tell him no. This is what happens, I know when Sharvil's admission was there, we were going through, a lot of, things, and we got flack from alumni. When they give Sharvil's admission, they had a complaint from alumni, the second generation, this thing. So how come this kid is given when our kids are right here, right? So we work it out. He never gave explanation, but you figure it out, right? I mean, this is how he does things very. Similarly, in every step of our children's life, Swami has kept that promise, is hey, not blessed only, he looks after things. So, we don't need more evidences, it's just every step of his there. I think the thing that I want to mention that is Swami is always here to carry us, And when I look at I had many more other children's experience. So my journey my talk started as my journey. But when I really look at retrospectively, it's really my children's journey. We just happen to be part of it. And that's the reason, remember, I happened to be at the right time. So I strongly believe that because of my children, that Swami wanted those children to be in the best environment, Ottawa then, to grow, and the SSA influence and all those things. He chose us, to, come through this path. So it's really not my journey. It's really our journey. And our journey together is also like, you are also part of it, because time and time, like, we help each other in this transformation. Like, Swami's message is that, like, that's actually is his reason for incarnation is a transformation. And this is how, through working with each other, like, improving ourselves, like, he does it. So that's the reason that it's actually our journey together. And I think his message is very simple, right? Love all, serve all. And if we follow through, like, that, then that's what is the best gift that we can give to him on Aradhana Mahotsav day, really. Like, follow his teachings. Transformation, like, I'll make a little joke now. Transformation is like, my family is totally committed to my transformation. And some of are completely selfless. Like, they would not worry about their own transformation. They will, like, make sure that my transformation. But anyway, on serious note, we all are together. And I think transformation, like, my kids actually teaches me more, really, that, hey, Dad, you shouldn't have done that, and they're right. Right? So they are part of it. Rita is also always right. I think Swami's message is that, like, as his quote says, that my life is message, my life is my message, and now he says your life should be his message. So this is what actually we have to, like, do to it. It's not only experiences are enough, not only teaching is enough, not only service, study circle, whatever it is not enough. It's just unless and until we really live through that. And that's what I think, we have to do that. I'm really thankful. Like, I think one thing I cannot, even though I'm tired, I think one thing I cannot say that, I think the practice that I'm doing it is love all. And that, like, messages, I do it, I try, like, definitely at my home with my thing, but here it helps me the most is children. I love children. I think I don't have to explain that whole lot. But the important part is Sharul and Shardul are not here. So it always helps that if children are physically here, you will love them more. But if they are not here, don't stop there. These are all your kids. And I have taken all of them as my kids. And those parents here, thank you, like, for letting me have your kids. I love them. Like, I think that is probably the most wonderful thing I have. Like, every time I see little puja or somebody runs and, like, come to me, I think I'm so happy. All those kids. So, love you kids. Today is no different. You have cookies there. And I think let's go together. Let's follow Swami teaching. Om Sai Ram.